Okay, hello. We're going to make dal, and I'm going to see how this works out, okay? So here is 3/4 of a cup of red lentils, and I'm going to put that in. And normally I rinse it out once, so I'm going to go to the sink and just quickly rinse it out so that there seems to be like a lot of soapiness in dal, in the lentils. And so I'm just going to, what I'm doing is I'm just rinsing it. See all that soapiness that comes up, and I will toss that out and come back to where you can see it. I just rinsed it a couple of times. And now what we're going to do is put some water in it. So because it was 3/4 cup of water, I'm going to put 8 times, it's 1 to 8 proportion. So we're going to put 8 3/4 cups. I should have calculated how many cups that makes, full cups, but anyway, that's 1. Where is the mark? Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, that was a little extra, 6, 7, 8. And now I'm going to put this onto the stove. My hands are clean. And let it cook. It's going to make some noise as it's cooking. I'm going to prep the other things. Looking for the cover. So as it's doing this, I'm going to put some salt to taste. Sorry, I don't always measure. I will taste it and adjust it. And then there's my spice box. So we're going to put some of these spices in there. I'm going to take some turmeric. It's about 1.5 teaspoons because that's a large quantity dal. I'm going to take a tablespoon of coriander, maybe a little bit more. And I'm going to let it cook, warm up while I prep all the other things. I'm also going to, where did I put it? Here we go. This is some sambar powder, and I'm going to put about 1.5 teaspoons. Just because it gives it some flavor. And I'm going to just stir it in. I'm also going to put a little ginger powder. I will also put fresh ginger, but about maybe 1.5 teaspoons of ginger powder. And there is my fresh ginger. I keep ginger paste in my refrigerator for about 5 to 6 days. And so I am going to take about, this is a small spoon, but that's about 1 teaspoon. And I'm going to put more, about 1.5 teaspoons in there. Let it cook let it warm up while I am getting ready with other stuff. I have to keep this slightly open. Dal will just boil over. So the next ingredient we're going to put in is an onion. And so, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, my knife is getting blunt. Okay. I'm going to wait till that lentil sort of warms up a little bit before I add the onion. And I'm going to cut it into not super thin, but still fairly thin. Can you see that? Still fairly thin, because you don't want lumps of onion in your mouth. So I'll chop it. And then I'm going to chop it as little as I can. Mess, 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 of course, when I'm demonstrating. So you see there are small pieces. I hope you saw that. This is one single piece. Okay. And it's getting hot, but it's not quite hot. So I'm going to let it get hot. And while this is there, I am going to start prepping vegetables that are going to be needed put in. So I get this box of chopped up banana squash, and I'm going to take a few of them. Right now I'm taking about this many, and I am going to, these pieces are too big, so what we're going to do is we're going to cut them into thin slices. You know, the trick of doing dal is to make sure that all the tastes integrate. And while you feel textures and tastes in each mouthful, you want to make sure that it's an integrated taste. I see you can't see what I'm cutting, so I'm going to turn this around. See all these small pieces? That's why you put the spices in earlier, so they can integrate into a cohesive taste, and you're not tasting turmeric separately or any of the other spices. I'm going to take a few more. Gives me something to do while I'm waiting for the dal to warm up. So the lentils should be cooking. Now if you do it in a pressure cooker, that's different. I never use a pressure cooker, so you can gauge the time with that. But otherwise, in normal times, you need the dal to cook at least 45 minutes to an hour. And the best is if you soak it for at least half an hour before. If you soak it overnight, then use less water because it won't absorb as much water, and you don't want too watery a dal. Although you put the water according to your taste. Some people like a thick dal, some people like a more runny dal. Okay, so this is my banana squash, and this is getting hot. And now I am going to take some other vegetable that I have, which is cauliflower. These are obviously left over from the previous time that I cooked because they're in pieces. And you see, okay, so I'm just going to cut them into small pieces. And you know, cauliflower, the stem has a lot of calcium in it, so I never throw the stems. And besides, I love how they taste, so I'll just cut them and then slice them to put them in. Now, cauliflower will take less time than the banana squash will. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of potato in there. So excuse me. There's a Yukon Gold, which I actually never really put it in dal. And the reason I don't is it's the russet potatoes that I favor. They taste really, they really absorb the curry taste very well. Whereas these potatoes are better for mashed potatoes or Western style of cooking. But that's what I have right now, so I'm putting it in. Also, potatoes take a little while to cook, so you should put them in soon after the onions. Just about ready to put it in. So while I'm waiting, I am going to peel some garlic. That way we have everything lined up. I'm going to use at least 4 cloves. I should have played some music. Da-da-da. Oh well. With it just being a camera sound, I don't know if it'll be too distracting. Okay, we have our almost have our 4 cloves of garlic here. And I'm going to chop that up, but after I put the onions in there. Sometimes the dal tends to stick to the bottom, and I just want to say one thing. So I'm just stirring it on this because the bottom is really hot. One thing about dal is you can choose your spices and keep adding little more as you need it, but do not keep adding water because that water will not gel with the dal. So you have to put all the water you need at the beginning, and if you put it halfway through, you'll find that as you're cooking the dal and as it sits, the water just separates out completely. So don't do that, okay? Now I'm going to cut the garlic into small pieces while we're waiting. I guess you can't really see it, but you can imagine it. Now the thing to remember with garlic is that garlic really is best when it's added at the very end for its healing effects. So what I do is I put a little bit of garlic in the beginning, and I'm not doing that for health, I'm doing that for taste. And then later on I will add the fresh garlic, so the dal is only cooking for 3 to 5 minutes and not too much. Ideal, of course, was to put it like just a minute or so before, but we don't always do that. Okay, there's your garlic. You can see little pieces, small pieces. You could even cut it much finer. Writers don't always have the patience, and I'm trying to do this to time it for you guys. Okay, it's not really boiling as much as I would like it to, but that's fine. So I am going to just put the onions in there so it gets an onion taste. First, so when you put potatoes in there, potatoes are also getting the onion flavor. And we're going to let that cook for a little bit. And as I'm doing that, I'm getting other things ready. So where did I put my curry leaves? Oh, here they are. I find curry leaves very, very tasty. Now it's hard for me to make dal without curry leaves. You know what curry leaves are? These are curry leaves. They grow on a stem, and you can actually even cook the stem. And it's excellent for cholesterol and things like that. So just gonna wash it. This is kind of the phase 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and just pile it up. And I'm just going to break it in about 3 loose pieces. It'll just break according to its veins, and just keep it ready for after the vegetables have cooked. I'm just keeping it ready. And I'm also going to be using something called asafoetida or hing. And I'm sorry the label is not there, but you get it in an Indian store. Okay, it's beginning to boil. I'll let it boil for a few more minutes and then add the potatoes. And oh, I need green chili. So one thing I do with chili is, see, I've taken out the seeds from it. But if you like to put the seeds, you can. It does become more potent. I like to take the seeds out so I can use more of the green chili for flavor, and it's not so spicy. Okay. So I'm going to cut it into teeny little pieces. I use serrano chili, or I'll use Thai chili. Thai chilies are very potent, so you don't use as much. And I think that I'm going to need more chili, so I'm going to add it. Okay, here's the serrano chili. Can you see it? You can't see it. I don't think you need to see this. But I cut it in fours and open it up and take out all these spicy. Besides, these are not good for people who suffer from intestinal problems, the seeds. So I don't, but it's just not good to have that. Just need a little bit more. I'll put the rest away. Okay, I guess I put half of it. That's a lot, but I think that will be fine. Sometimes I take a little bit and just drop it into my mouth. I never put cooking hands into my mouth, even when I'm cooking for myself. To see how, oh, that's really potent. So I don't know if I'll use that much. Okay, now as this is boiling, I hope you can see that. Can you? Can you see it? See? It's boiling. And so I'm going to drop the potatoes in there. And let it cook for about 5 minutes. And I am going to keep a tasting spoon. So I use this to shell out and this to keep tasting. Good. It's beginning to get some flavor. We need just a teeny bit more salt in it, but not too much. A little bit. Okay, we let that cook for a few minutes, And then I'm going to, what I'm going to do is take a handful of garlic, which is probably, I did 4 cloves, so this is probably a third of that amount. And I'm going to drop it in there so that it gets the garlic flavor. The rest I'll put towards the end. And even though I peeled the garlic now, it's really nice to peel it just before you're going to use it, because dal will take about an hour and you dissipate a lot of the allicin in the dal if you peel it too much beforehand. Okie dokie. So I don't know if you want to go do something for 4 or 5 minutes, because I'm going to wait, but I don't want to turn the video off. So if you want, you can cook something else in the meantime or prep something in the meantime. I'm going to just let this be for about 5 minutes and let the potatoes cook. And then we're going to put the banana squash in there. I'm going to turn this down a little so it slow cooks and leave it for a few minutes. I will come back. So just so you know, you can use any vegetables. Dal traditionally, other than some onions, is not always made with vegetables, but there are several specialty dals where they'll use, and you can use your choice of what you have at home. I'll give you some examples. Other than the onions, you can put some potatoes, you could put some sweet potatoes, you could put banana squash, cauliflower, regular potatoes, russet potatoes, carrots, finely chopped green beans are another alternative, eggplant is another alternative, and of course cauliflower. You could put asparagus if you want. I have some, but I'm not putting it. You know what tastes really nice is shiitake mushrooms. After de-stemming them, just slice them into thin pieces and do it. I think I might have some in the fridge, so I'm going to go take a look. So look what I found. I found 2 and they are dried. So what I'm going to do is just de-stem them. Wow, okay. De-stemmed them, took out the stems, and I'll just slightly rinse them. What I'm going to do is cut them really fine. They're semi-hard, but they're totally fine, and because we're cooking the dal for a little while, they will give a really great texture. See, I cut them into thin slices. I've grown to love shiitakes in dal. But most Indians do not like mushrooms because they're considered fungi, tamasic. From Chinese cuisine, they're extremely healing. So I'm going to put this in so it keeps cooking and softening. And I want you to see how this dal is integrating into the water, so you don't want it to just stay separate, okay? Stir it a little bit from time to time. Did you see that? Let me show it to you properly. See? I hope you can see it. Yeah, it's just boiling. Okay. Now, potatoes have been there for a few minutes, so they've had a time to cook a little bit, and I am going to now put the banana squash and let that cook. Let it cook for 5 or 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and then I'll put the cauliflower in there. Yeah, you want to let it come to boil and cook. So I'm leaving for about 5 minutes, and you can do something in the meantime. Prep another dish. I'm going to get a phone call at 8 o'clock, so I have 10 minutes. Let's hope this comes to a boil and I can add the cauliflower. And then we'll do phase 2. I would normally wait about 3 or 4 more minutes, but because I have this call coming in, I'm going to add this in so that everything is boiling when we do the next step. Now I'm going to show you how to season it. So I've taken some cilantro, washed it, and I'm going to chop it up really fine, keeping the stems on one end. Not too fine, although most people actually chop it really fine. I don't think to damage the leaves too much, but anyway, you can see what I'm doing. And I tend to use a little more cilantro than most people, but I love it. Now, what I'm going to do is take the stem side that I chopped up and put them in here for flavor. Otherwise, I'm going to add all the rest at the very end after I've turned off the stove. Now what we're going to do is warm this up. You see this stove? You do. Okay. And we're going to, sorry, it's all cluttered here. We're going to put this, you can use a little ladle. If you have a stove or a gas stove, then you can use a ladle. Just don't hold it straight up because your hand will feel the flame, so hold it at an angle. But I have something specially made for this in India, and that's what I'm going to use. And what I have kept ready is serrano peppers, garlic, and curry leaves that I chopped up, remember, if you have those, use those, and some asafoetida. So these are ready. I'm also going to use from my spice box some mustard. You can use any mustard seeds that you have at home. I tend to use the black mustard seed, but you can get brown mustard, yellow mustard, and I'm going to be using cumin seeds. Okay, so what we do is you can use coconut oil or ghee, and I use ghee whenever I can. I use ghee when I can, so here is ghee. You have to wait till it's hot. I'm using, this is a teaspoon, so you can see that would probably amount to a tablespoon. And you're going to melt it. And the trick of this is to melt it well, so that it's hot when you add the mustard seed, which I'm going to put first. I'm going to put the mustard seed, then I'm going to put the green chilies, then I'm going to put the cumin seeds. Do I want to put garlic? You could put garlic, but I might put it afterwards. So I have little tongs here that I use, and it is getting hot, but not hot enough. Takes a little while to get really hot, and we're waiting. And to make sure, I'm going to try to take one little seed and put it in the ghee and see if it'll sizzle. See, it just went down. It didn't really sizzle, I don't think. Yeah, that means it's not hot enough. So I'm going to wait. See how now they're beginning to sizzle a little, and then they'll come up. And that'll tell me that the ghee is hot enough. I hope you saw that. I couldn't see what you could see. Alright, so I want the mustard seeds to pop so they're soft and this flavor goes into the oil. Whatever you put in the oil is what it's going to have flavor. And you don't have to put all these things. You can just sometimes, if you're making dal a lot, sometimes just put mustard and cumin. Other times, whatever you put first, put the green chilies. Another time, put garlic. So it'll vary in taste. But I'm putting all of them right now. And I've covered it because I don't want it to pop, but you see how it's sizzling. And we're going to hear them pop and crackle in a second. So if the phone rings, I'm not going to answer it, but just know that that's happening. There, I can hear little crackles. burns very fast. So we'll put this in. I'm going to put the curry leaves, which are going to crackle. And lastly, I'm going to put the asafoetida. Could put a little bit of garlic, but I don't want to because I will cool it all down. Let it warm up just a little more. Ooh, that's putting too much. Now I'm going to take this, open this, push it in, and close it. See? I'm going to add all the garlic in. Start putting things away, and I'll let it cook a little bit. Please know that I put the cauliflower in a little earlier than I normally would have, and it's going to get a little overdone, but that's fine. It'll make good soup. And the only other thing I will do when it's done, and I put some of it now only to show you, when it's completely done and not boiling anymore, then I will just sprinkle this and be ready to serve. And there's your dal. All right, enjoy.